we just pick a film from your collection and we just each pick one and we'll talk about that one. Let's.
Welcome to the new video. This is Thursday night, everybody. How are you? There is no theme for this one other than why don't you pick a movie from the collection to talk about?
What did I talk about?
By the way, everybody, if you go back to Monday's episode of Good Movie Monday, we talked about wedding movies, so it's something a bit different, and you might find a few goodies in there. What are you going to pick, man?
What did I talk about?
It's essentially slow motion spitball.
Toy Soldiers.
Oh yes. How good is Toy Soldiers?
It is a great film. I remember thoroughly enjoying this movie. In fact, when I worked for Bounty Films, we would occasionally get distributors would send us like larger lists of their back catalogue films.
Yeah.
And we would, you'd choose 5 films to release or 10 films. You'd pick out a package and you'd get a package deal. And sometimes they came with zero information about what the film was you were picking other than the title.
Yep.
And I saw Toy Soldiers on there and I was like, yes, 100% yes. Lou Gossett Jr., Sean Astin, Will Wheaton, I think it was Andrew Divoff is the bad guy. Denholm Elliott. It's a phenomenal film. Yes, that will be in the package. And when it arrived, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, it was a completely different film about a bunch of kids.
You got the other Toy Soldiers.
The other Toy Soldiers that Palace Video released back in the
day.
Yeah.
Man.
I think it's got a pretty good cast. Like Tracy Scoggins and maybe Kayla from Days of Our Lives, I think.
But it ain't no.
But it's not this one. But no, it's about a bunch of kids who get trapped who on holiday get caught by like some guerrilla army in the jungle, and then their other kids, their other friends, can't get any help from the government to come and rescue them, so they decide to do it themselves, having zero military experience.
It's an appropriate title for that theme,
but that works. Whereas this one is about this boarding school, kind of in the middle of nowhere, where all of the kids who go there are like their parents are diplomats or the president
and they're all delinquents.
And they're all kind of, they're all troubled. So it's like a boarding school where they scare them straight or whatever it is.
Well, it's almost like they're overly privileged,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Lou Gossett Jr. is the the headmaster or the headmaster.
The strict, like a dean or something?
Or is it, I thought he may have just been like the groundskeeper kind of thing.
Yeah, because he's not.
But he's also like he's got.
Because isn't Denham Elliott the headmaster?
The headmaster, yeah.
So he's more like an advisor of some sort that just works at the school.
I think it's very similar.
Very
similar to the principal, where he's like the maintenance man, but he
has a history.
He's like Steven Seagal in Under Siege. Like he's just the chef, right?
Yeah.
Well, only sometimes. But
what an exciting film! Like as a teenager, that is the be all.
And then so Andrew Divoff and a bunch of terrorists hijack it in order to. Commit some kind of terrorist, like they want people released from prison or whatever it is. And Will Wheaton is great. His dad is like a mafia boss.
Yes.
Who's like hobnobbing.
Was that Jerry, what's his name, the guy from Law and Order?
Jerry Orbach.
Yeah, he plays the mob father.
The mob dad.
And he comes in saying, no one's going to do this to my son,
Yeah. It's like, good. It's so good. So, and then basically these overprivileged kind of thing have to fight back, have to save themselves.
Yeah.
It's really good. I don't know who Daniel Petrie Jr. is, and I don't know what else he's directed. I thought you were about to pull out the phone then,
no,
but you're just scratching your back. Scratching your ass, mate.
All right, let's have a look. Toy Soldiers. Type too fast then. 1991.
So I would have just finished primary school when this came out.
The theatrical poster is so much better than DVD, which I flashed on the screen already, but, that is...
Classic.
Gorgeous.
It's like Copland. It's like the Copland poster.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look. Filmography. He's the writer of Beverly Hills Cop. He wrote The Big Easy. He wrote Shoot to Kill.
Right. Which is
I was always going to say that's the one I'm going to pull out to talk about, but I've already talked about it before. He wrote Turner and Hooch.
I do like Turner and Hooch.
Yeah, after Toy Soldiers, he directed In the Army Now.
Right.
and Dawn Patrol.
Right, I've never seen Dawn Patrol.
No.
Does it star Pauly Shore?
Wow. Oh, no, we have this as a different title in Australia. It's got Scott Eastwood. It's a recent one.
Oh, okay.
I know that cover.
Yeah.
I know that cover. What is that in Australia?
I thought it's got like a surf title or something in it.
Yeah.
Like he's a surfer or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, good one. Now, I guess I have to pick something.
You pick something.
Damn. All right. Let's have a scan. We have obviously not prepared this video. People.
What are you talking about?
And by the way, when I'm looking over here, I don't know where I'm looking because of two cameras, and we're just going to use whatever one works best. So, hi and hi. All right. Oh, I kind of don't know what genre I should go with. Okay. Well, you on our spitball video, you landed down near Mr. Brooks. I want to talk about Micmacs, but more the director. So,
Jean-Pierre Junot.
Yes, Jean-Pierre Junot. He's not been around for a while, as far as I can tell.
I don't know. Like, I mean, because he had Micmacs and The Incredible Adventures of T.S. Spivet or whatever it is.
Yeah, that was a really. I mean, he's a weird director, but that was a particularly weird film.
Yeah, but they played the Nova and stuff, but they weren't like the smash hit that Amelie or Very Long Engagement were, which I really
Delicatessen and City of Lost Children.
Well, they were him and Mark Caro, so they were totally. Like he was the Mark Caro was the kind of nasty weird one, and Junot was the sweet weird one. So they worked really well together.
Yeah,
but then they split. I think when Mark Caro come and do Alien 4?
No, that was Jean.
Was that Jean-Pierre Junot? He did Alien 4. I thought it was Mark Caro.
No, yeah.
Right, so I don't know what the hell Mark Caro is doing there.
Well, let's have a look. This is how prepared we are, as always.
It's going to be in French.
Let me just go to Alien Resurrection and have a look first. Yeah, so Jean-Pierre Junot, written by Joss Whedon.
Because he went away from that, thoroughly disappointed in the Hollywood process. Was that before or after Amelie?
Who, like...
Alien Resurrection, was that before?
I think it was before.
Yeah.
And then Amelie he's like, okay, fuck that.
I'm making movies in France.
Going back.
I don't need Hollywood. These guys
That's
are bullshit.
right. Okay, so Delicatessen, City of Lost Children, Dante 01.
Haven't seen it.
That's it. He's made one film, Dante 01, which is a science fiction film from French director Marc Caro, and that's all there is information-wise yet.
Right. Interesting.
Yep.
Because I thought that's what happened. I thought he went to make Alien Resurrection and he just got burnt out by Hollywood.
He got fucked
and
over.
Junot made Amelie and Very Long Engagement.
I think the Alien franchise has been one that screwed a lot of people over. Like Vincent Ward is a classic story, you know.
But it's silly. Like Ridley Scott got to do what he wanted because, or you know what's his name? Who's the guy that directed The Warriors and
Walter Hill.
Walter Hill, yeah. So Ridley Scott got to do what he or Walter Hill wanted in Alien, and James Cameron, because it was a sequel, no one was expecting.
Yeah.
Like they were expecting stuff, but they weren't expecting it for it to be massive.
Yep.
And then by that stage, it just became the producer's game where it was done by committee. It's the same as you hear all those stories about, you know, for the Star Wars franchise, Kathleen Kennedy hires these young and up and coming directors, you know, indie voices, and then totally
taking the film away from them, essentially.
Yeah. Like rides roughshod over them. Like, why they even need a director on those films? They should just be directed by producers.
It's the narrative they're trying to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Alien Resurrection?
I actually, like when I look back on it, I think it's a lot better than I gave it credit for. Like it is a pretty kind of tense kind of alien movie. I mean, it's, you know, it was never going to be Alien or Aliens. Like the whole reason that Aliens is as good as it is because it went from thriller to action movie. Like he literally changed genre.
Horror to action.
Or to horror, horror to action.
Yeah.
Like he changed genre for that film. Yeah. And then for the third one, they're all just trying to kind of recapture aliens. Not even alien. Aliens.
Yep.
And
it was audacious at the time. And I think Resurrection kind of takes the first three and just molds them together.
But I guess it's the same as Rambo. Like First Blood is a completely different film to Rambo 2 and Rambo 3.
Yeah.
Like they...
That's my point when we were talking about how a few weeks ago I love number 2 sequels. And that's why, because that number 2 is always the one that dares to be different. And then number 3, they quite often try to recapture the first.
Well, I was going to say, it's not necessarily that they dare to be different. I think that it's they actually try and please a wider audience. Yeah. So it becomes a movie. They try and make it a movie for everyone. Yeah. And it ends up being for no one. Whereas the first one is like, well, we didn't think this was going to be a hit. Same with Rocky.
But also quite often, and I use Nightmare on Elm Street as the example, quite often number 1 comes along and the lore and the legend hasn't been established yet. So number 2 can kind of play on whatever direction it wants to go, and then they have to go. I think horror movies, funnily enough, are actually like the exception to that, where the sequels,
like they always try and stay horror movies.
Yeah.
And they immediately try and recapture whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was in the first one, like often with a lesser budget.
Yeah.
Although now that's it's kind of changing. It always depends. I think it depends if the first one was successful, they get a bit of a bump for the second one budget wise.
Yep.
And then the third one it'll be cut dramatically for some reason, unless maybe you're Saw.
Yeah.
Then you seem to, or Fast and the Furious, you're allowed to have more money.
Speaking of Saw, that new one's coming out soon. Spiral with Chris Rock looks pretty good.
Never seen a Saw film.
Haven't you? Well, this new one is essentially the trailer and the publicity's leading us to believe it's going in much more of a Seven direction, where it's from the investigation's point of view, which the first one kind of was. It was an investigation, and we get sort of almost flashbacks to the crimes,
right?
And then the sequels are just all about the torture porn.
Yeah.
But this one looks like Chris Rock is the detective investigating the murders of the Jigsaw, and it's sort of from that perspective, which I like. It's good. You know, it kind of looks David Finchery, which they all do inevitably. Cool.
Cool.
Have we talked enough?
I think so.
This has been fantastic. This is what happens when you don't plan.
Yeah, plan. We just forgot.
In the early days when we did these videos, that's how it was. Like before Spitball, it was just left the mic running and just keep talking.
Just talking. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's
I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking about Toy Soldiers, and I enjoyed listening to you talk about, me talk about
well,
aliens.
I picked out Micmacs, and we didn't
We
even
didn't
talk about that at
Micmacs.
all. But I only picked it out for the director's point of view,
and
perspective. All right. I'll see you next week, Ben.
See you next week.